Kids, where are you? It's time for all the art to tell stories.
In the heart of the mystical kingdom called Eldoria, whispers carried by the wind sang tales of bravery and legends. A place where whispers echoed through time, stored within ancient ruins scattered across the land. Eldoria was a land filled with enchantment, a haven for adventurers seeking the mysteries held by the earth. One such explorer was a young boy named Elric, known for his curiosity and unyielding spirit. Elric lived in a quaint village by the edge of a magnificent enchanted forest. As bedtime approached, stories of courageous knights and their valorous deeds filled the air, sung by the elders. One evening, as the golden sun painted the sky, Elric felt the echoes calling him to an adventure. The spirits of the ancient ruins beckon, he thought, his heart brimming with excitement. With a knowing smile, Elric set foot towards the magical forest, carrying an old map passed down through the village generations. Entering the forest was akin to stepping into another realm. The forest was a place where every tree seemed to tell a story, and every rustling leaf sang a melody of times long past. Mockingbirds played harmonies in the air, while sunlight danced among the foliage. Elric walked deeper into the woods, stepping gently over roots and fallen leaves. He came upon hidden puzzles etched into stone tablets, each guarding stories of knightly bravery. The first puzzle appeared as a series of symbols carved elegantly into the stone. "Courage comes from the heart," Elric said aloud, remembering lessons shared by village elders. As he spoke these words, the symbols began to shimmer, revealing a passageway through the trees. With each step, Elric felt himself borne on wings of history's heroes. He came across creatures of the forest who offered guidance. A wise owl whispered secrets of patience, a gentle deer showed the way when paths seemed unclear. As the moonlight quivered softly over the ruins, Elric reached the heart of the ancient site, a towering archway carved with tales of valor. Here, the echoes grew strong. The echoes chanted the bravery of knights who had once saved Eldoria from peril. Elric realized that true bravery lay not only in mighty acts but also in quiet hearts that faced their fears. "Valor is timeless," the echoes spoke. "It lives in each heart that dares to dream and to act with courage." With newfound wisdom, Elric returned home, his heart echoing with lessons of valor. He understood now that every person had the power to awaken a legacy of bravery, no matter how young or old. As he drifted into peaceful slumber, Elric dreamt of new adventures and timeless echoes. Long ago, in a quaint village nestled between majestic mountains and clear blue lakes, lived a young girl named Lila. Lila had always been curious about the world beyond her village and set off on a grand adventure many years ago. She explored magical forests, sailed across endless oceans, and met creatures of all shapes and sizes. During her travels, Lila learned the secrets of courage, kindness, and friendship. One bright morning, as the sun painted the sky in hues of pink and gold, Lila returned to her village. Her heart swelled with joy as she walked through the familiar cobblestone streets. She passed the houses where she played as a child, and to the meadow that gleamed like emerald under the sun's rays. It was home, yet something was amiss. The villagers gathered around Lila, their faces full of worry. "Lila," they said, "our peaceful village is in danger. A shadow has fallen, threatening to take away all the happiness we've cherished." Determined to help, Lila listened to their stories and promised to stand with them. Seeking wisdom from her adventures, Lila called upon her old friends. Oliver, the oak tree who guided her with age-old wisdom, and Melody, the songbird who taught her the power of song and laughter, joined her. With each friend came a piece of wisdom from their journey: endurance, joy, and unity. As word spread of Lila's determination, new allies emerged. People from neighboring villages offered help, and magical creatures like Luna, the glowing fox, who could chase away the darkest of shadows, joined her. Together, they devised a plan to protect their beloved village. The plan was not to fight but to unite. Lila reminded everyone of the lessons she had learned. True strength lies not in confrontation but in compassion and collaboration. Let's light up our village, she said, not just with lanterns but with our spirits. Every villager, young and old, gathered together bringing forth their unique talents. Throughout the day, laughter and joyful clatter resonated as lanterns were hung. Music filled the air, and stories were shared of bravery and kindness. Even the shadow itself seemed to retreat, puzzled by this new warmth. That night, the village was aglow, shimmering like 1,000 stars. Lila stood surrounded by friends, her heart full of gratitude. As the shadow dissipated, the village celebrated their victory, a triumph of unity and love over fear and darkness. Yet, as everyone danced, sang, and rejoiced, Lila knew the greatest gift was the bond they had forged, a bond that could face any challenge as long as it was wrapped in hope and love. So, Lila's story became one of service and compassion. A tale whispered to children as they snuggled into bed, dreaming of warm lanterns and enduring friendships. As they drifted to sleep, the gentle breeze carried the soft hum of unity through the village, promising a brighter tomorrow. In a city often blanketed by a heavy gray sky, the townspeople went about their daily lives, weighed down by sorrow. Among them was a little girl named Alara, with eyes as bright as the stars and a smile that refused to be dimmed. Alara loved exploring every nook and cranny of the city, always believing there was beauty hidden in its shadows. One crisp autumn morning, as Alara played near the old willow tree in the crowded park, her eyes caught the glint of something shimmering beneath its roots. Curious, she knelt down and carefully unearthed a small gem. It gleamed with an otherworldly light, casting warm hues of gold and crimson. Alara's heart leaped with excitement as she held the radiant heart in her hands. From that day on, peculiar and wondrous things began to happen. Trees that stood brittle and bare started to blossom with vibrant flowers. The laughter of children echoed loudly in the once silent streets. Most astonishing of all was the change in the people. Smiles and kind words became contagious, like sunflower fields basking in the sun. Alara learned that the gem was not just a trinket but a heart powered by acts of kindness and bravery. Determined to see its magic unfold, Alara set off on her adventures throughout the city. On one of her earliest expeditions, Alara met Tom, the cobbler, who never seemed to smile. His shop was filled with dusty shoes that spoke of neglect. Alara knew what to do. She spent her afternoon helping and chatting with Tom, cleaning shoes, and tidying up. As they worked, she told him stories of faraway lands and played games that made him chuckle heartily. When she left that evening, the cobbler's shop was not only clean but alive with the warmth of human connection. The next morning, Tom's laughter resonated through the street, lightening the hearts of passers-by. Weeks went by, and Alara's adventures took her to many other corners of the city. She planted seeds in the barren soils of a garden, tended to sickly plants, and saw it turn into a lush haven of life. At the market, she orchestrated a food exchange. People brought excess goods and shared them with those in need. Each selfless act fed the radiant heart, growing ever more brilliant with each passing day. Soon, the entire city was aglow, no longer held captive by the grips of sorrow. The people, once yearning for a change they could not see, found it shining from within themselves. One evening, as Alara sat under the old willow tree gazing at the thriving world around her, the radiant heart twinkled one last time before slowly fading into the air like a gentle breath. Alara knew its light lived on within every heart in the city. Her journey was not just a tale of magic and adventure but a testament to the power of kindness, proving that even the smallest gestures can illuminate the darkest places. Under a canopy of stars, the city glowed gently, echoing the love and compassion sown by a child's radiant heart. On a sunny morning, little squirrel Kevin was busy bouncing between the branches in the forest. He was a lively and clever little squirrel, always eager for adventure and exploration. That day, Kevin heard cries for help coming from afar. Several animals were trapped in a storm. He knew he had to help them. Kevin quickly brainstormed and came up with a plan. First, he navigated through the dense woods, using his agility to avoid branches and vines. Along the way, he encountered many friendly little animals, all cheering him on. As he approached the center of the storm, Kevin felt fear creeping in. The howling winds roared, leaves swirled in the air, and raindrops pelted his little face. He paused, took a deep breath, and worked hard to overcome his fear. Remembering the support and encouragement from his friends, Kevin gathered his courage and pressed on. Using his clever mind, Kevin analyzed the terrain and found a safe path. He noted where the ground was drier and where it might be slippery, carefully guiding the other animals to follow him. Eventually, Kevin and his animal friends successfully reached a safe place, and everyone breathed a sigh of relief, cheering loudly. They all felt proud of Kevin's brave and fearless actions. From that day on, Kevin became a little hero in the forest. He was not just the one who saved his animal friends but also a role model in everyone's hearts. Through this adventure, Kevin understood that courage is not just about facing fear, but about using wisdom and kindness to help others. Sitting quietly on a gently swaying branch, Kevin gazed at the starry sky, filled with a sense of accomplishment and happiness. Tonight, he would embark on a new adventure in his dreams, but this time, he knew that in his heart, he possessed the courage and wisdom to face any challenge. Once upon a time, there was a lovely little cloud named Mia. Unlike other clouds, Mia had a pair of small wings that allowed her to fly gracefully in the sky, dancing like a bird. One day, Mia was leisurely gliding between the blue sky and white clouds, overlooking the busy little town below. People were happily strolling in the streets, children were playing in the park, and the sky was peaceful. Suddenly, Mia noticed a thin crack appearing at the edge of the sky. This crack quickly widened and turned into a black hole, from which fierce winds surged, threatening the town below. Other clouds were frightened and scattered in all directions, but Mia bravely rushed toward the black hole. Swaying in the strong winds, she frantically thought about how to stop this storm. Recalling the stories told by the old cloud, Mia decided to give it a try. She concentrated all her strength to make herself more resilient, and then she expanded her body in front of the black hole, forming a huge shield. The fierce winds collided with the shield that Mia had transformed into, starting to weaken. As time passed, the power of the wind gradually diminished, and the black hole slowly closed. Mia successfully protected the town, and calm days returned. The people were overjoyed to learn that it was the little cloud in the sky that had saved them, and they called Mia the Cloud Knight. From then on, whenever people looked up at the sky and saw that particularly radiant cloud, they felt safe and warm, knowing that the brave Cloud Knight Mia was watching over them. Mia's heart was filled with joy and pride as she continued to fly freely in the sky, always guarding her beloved little town, becoming the true guardian of the heavens. On a cold, wintry night, a little penguin named Daniel stood alone, guarding the lighthouse. The wind whispered through the air, and the waves crashed against the rocky shore. Daniel, though small in stature, was big in heart. Every night, his job was to keep the lighthouse lit to ensure that the ships sailing in the nearby sea had a safe journey. This particular night was especially challenging. A thick fog had rolled in from the ocean, making it hard for anyone to see more than a few feet ahead. Daniel knew how important his mission was. Without the light from the lighthouse, the ships might lose their way and become stranded or, even worse, crash into the rocks. He waddled up the spiral stairs inside the lighthouse, his little feet scraping gently against each step. With each floor he passed, Daniel checked the mechanisms to make sure everything was in working order. The lamp needed to be perfect, every gear in place, every glass panel utterly spotless. When Daniel reached the top, he peeked outside to see the fog engulfing everything. "It's now or never," Daniel whispered to himself, his voice filled with determination. With one quick motion, he flipped the switch, and the lighthouse beacon shone brightly across the fog-lined sea. Its warm, guiding light cut through the fog like a knife, revealing the path to safety for all nearby ships. Daniel stood at the top of the lighthouse, feathers ruffled by the wind, but filled with warmth knowing he had made a difference. He watched as the ships sailed safely past, their captains waving in gratitude. The little penguin had become a hero, not for being the biggest or strongest, but for having the heart and courage to guide everyone safely back to port. And as the morning sun started to peek over the horizon, Daniel knew he'd be back tomorrow night, ready to light the way once again. Lucy was a happy girl living in a small town, and she had a special ability: she could talk to the stars. On warm summer nights, Lucy loved chatting with the stars until her eyelids grew heavy. One night, Lucy noticed that the night sky had become dim and dull, and the stars no longer twinkled. The townspeople began to worry, as they were used to watching the stars as they fell asleep. At that moment, Lucy decided to step up. She would go to the kingdom of stars to help the stars shine again. Lucy embarked on a wonderful journey, flying through a sea of stars, soaring like a bright comet. The sea of stars shimmered with faint light, and Lucy softly called out to her star friends. Eventually, Lucy arrived at the kingdom of stars, where the atmosphere was somewhat sad, and the stars hung their heads low. She found the Star King, who told her that the stars had lost their shine because they had lost their courage. Gathering her courage, Lucy began to sing her favorite lullaby for the stars. Her voice was gentle like the night breeze, and as the stars listened, they gradually lifted their heads. Lucy's courage and love inspired all the stars, and one by one, they began to shine again, making the night sky sparkle like diamonds. Lucy knew her mission was complete. She bid farewell to the Star King and her star friends and set off on her journey back home. Upon returning to the small town, the night sky regained its former brilliance, and the townspeople thanked Lucy for her courage and kindness. From then on, the friendship between Lucy and the stars grew even deeper. Whenever someone asked her about it, she would always say that as long as courage and love are present, anything can shine bright like a star. And the nights in the small town became especially bright and warm because of Lucy. Once upon a time, there was a dense and vibrant forest, with tall green trees and birds singing endlessly. In this forest lived a little bear named Bruno, who not only had a fluffy appearance but also a warm heart. From a young age, Bruno was curious about herbs. He spent a lot of time observing how the elders used the plants in the forest to heal ailments, and gradually, he became a little doctor himself. One day, a little cuckoo named Kelly accidentally fell from a branch. Bruno applied golden dandelions to Kelly's wings, and as time passed, Kelly flew back into the sky, happily circling around Bruno. Soon, more animals heard about Bruno's medical skills. Rabbit Petey, Squirrel Tucker, and little deer Lena all regained their health under Bruno's careful care. Bruno's smile was always so reassuring, he became the undisputed hero of the forest in everyone's eyes. One day, after a heavy rain, Bruno noticed that little fox Freddy looked a bit haggard. It turned out that Freddy had gotten wet in the rain and caught a cold. Bruno gently dried him off, brewed a pot of hot ginger soup, and added fresh honey to warm Freddy up. He smiled at Freddy and said, "You will get better." When the moon rose, Freddy quietly fell asleep, dreaming of running in the sunshine. Every animal in the forest knew that Bruno was not just a good doctor, but also a loving friend. With his companionship, everyone was no longer afraid of illness. What he offered was not just medicine, but also courage and hope. When the church bells rang to wake everyone up, Bruno knew it was a new day. Facing the morning light, he smiled as he prepared the herbs, looking forward to helping more little animals in need. The dewdrops sparkled in the sunlight like stars, just like little bear Bruno's love, shining brightly in this forest. In a clear river, there lived a little fish named John. He and his friends enjoyed the sunshine and the cool flowing water. However, the water level of the river began to drop, and the rocks at the riverbed gradually emerged. John felt uneasy and decided to find out the reason. John told his friends that he planned to swim upstream to see the world above the river and discover the cause of the declining water level. His friends were worried about his safety, but they also knew John's courage and determination, so they wished him a safe journey. On the day of departure, the sun was shining brightly. John bid farewell to his family and friends and began his journey upstream. Along the way, he encountered many new things, strange water plants, chirping stones, and little whirlpools that filled John with curiosity and excitement. After navigating through a chaotic rapid, John arrived at the daunting waterfall. He gazed at the cascading white water, feeling a bit anxious. But he took a deep breath, leaped with all his might, and overcame the roar of the waterfall. When he surfaced on the other side, the world around him became vast and bright. At that moment, John felt a new strength flowing into his body. He gathered his courage and continued to swim upstream. The scenery became even more beautiful, and he met many kind little animals. They told John that the water source upstream was blocked by a huge rock, and if he could remove this obstacle, the river's water source would be restored. John knew he had to complete this difficult task. In a radiant glow that brightened his spirit, John exerted all his effort, using his wisdom and perseverance to push the obstructing rock. Finally, the river water began to flow again, and the trees and grass cheered to welcome the return of the water. John became the legendary guardian of the river, returning to his friends every day filled with joy and responsibility. From that day on, John and his friends were no longer afraid of the changes in the river, for they knew that courage and wisdom would always help them face challenges and become an indispensable protective force of the river. The story of little fish John swimming upstream not only inspired other little fish in the river but also taught children that with courage and wisdom, even the toughest challenges can be overcome. In a bustling little town where laughter danced in the streets and children played with abandon, there was a special little bus named Mary. Mary was not just any bus, she was known for her cheerful beep beep that brightened anyone's day. Today was an important day for her, as it was the very first time she was going to take passengers all on her own. As Mary drove onto the road surrounded by lush green fields and colorful houses, she was filled with excitement and a hint of nervousness. However, she smiled inwardly and reminded herself of the friendly faces she was going to meet. With a cheerful horn, she welcomed passengers aboard. There was Mrs. Green, carrying her basket of knitting supplies, Timmy, holding his favorite teddy bear, and Mr. Brown, with his trusty camera. The journey commenced under the embrace of the blue sky, but as they traveled further, clouds began to gather. The wind whispered secrets to the leaves, and soon large droplets of rain started to fall. "Oh my," gasped Mary, "this rain looks quite heavy." But she remembered the words of the wise old bus at the depot, "Believe in yourself, Mary, and you can handle anything." The road became slippery, and puddles began to form, but Mary kept her wipers moving in rhythm with the rain's melody. Suddenly, a loud crack echoed through the air. Mary came to a gentle stop, her heart pounding like a distant drum. In front of her was a great old tree that had fallen across the road, its leaves whispering in the breeze. "What do we do now?" asked Timmy, clutching his bear a little closer. Mary took a moment and thought about how the depot had taught her about different routes. "No need to worry," she chirped reassuringly. "We'll find another way." Mary backed up slowly and took a quaint little side road she remembered. The winding path led them through a tunnel of trees where raindrops played games upon the leaves. Mary sang a little song to keep her passengers entertained, and they joined in with giggles and claps. Soon, they reached a clear part of the road. The rain was just a gentle patter now, and the clouds decided to let a sliver of sunshine peek through. One by one, Mary made sure everyone reached their homes safely. Mrs. Green, with a warm hug, Mr. Brown, with a flash of his camera, and Timmy, with a cheerful wave. As Mary headed back to the depot, the rain had stopped, leaving puddles that reflected the pink hues of the sunset. She couldn't help but feel proud of what she had accomplished. "I did it," she giggled, happy for the day's adventure and for her newfound confidence. That night, Mary rested at the depot, tucked under the comforting blanket of the starry sky, filled with dreams of new paths and friendly faces. And as the town quieted down, every child who had glimpsed the heroic journey of the brave little bus slept with a smile, dreaming of courage and kindness. One sunny morning, Ruby was exploring the dusty old attic in her grandmother's house. She loved finding secrets among forgotten things. As she rummaged through ancient boxes, she uncovered something unusual, a map that seemed to be shimmering under the rays of sunlight coming through the tiny window. Curious and intrigued, Ruby unfolded the map carefully. To her surprise, the map began to speak in a gentle, friendly voice. "Hello, Ruby. I am your guide to the enchanted lost forest, where magic and mysteries await. But beware, for there are challenges to face." Ruby's eyes sparkled with excitement. She loved riddles and adventures more than anything in the world. "Please, tell me more," she asked the talking map. "The lost forest holds the secrets of the fairy kingdom. But the fairy queen has been trapped by a cunning sorcerer, and the forest needs your help to set her free. To reach the queen, you must solve 3 riddles, using your wits, bravery, and keen observation skills," said the map, its voice like soft music. Ruby knew this was an adventure she couldn't resist. She put on her explorer hat and headed towards the forest, with the map safely tucked under her arm. As Ruby ventured deeper into the forest, she came upon the first riddle. A trail of shimmering stones lay before her, each one glowing a different color. The map spoke, "To pass this path, you must find the sequence that matches the rainbow's spectrum." Ruby remembered the rainbow song and carefully arranged the stones in the order: red, orange, yellow, green, blue, indigo, violet. With a magical shimmer, the path cleared, and she confidently stepped forward. "Well done, Ruby," applauded the map. "Now on to the second riddle." The next challenge led Ruby to a glade with towering trees forming a circle around her. "Find the harmony in the sounds and show your true courage," whispered the map. Ruby listened closely to the rustling leaves and chirping birds, and then closed her eyes to let her heart guide the melody. She began humming a tune of hope and bravery, and as her sweet song filled the air, the trees parted to reveal the path onward. "You have a brave heart, Ruby." "Now, for the final riddle," the map encouraged. Ruby arrived at a beautiful fountain, where the water sang melodies of wisdom. "Answer the question, what is unseen but gives light to the day and guides your way in the night?" inquired the map. Ruby pondered thoughtfully and smiled as she found the answer in her heart. "It's the truth," she declared. "Truth gives us light in our decisions during the day and guides us when we're lost in the darkness of doubt." With her answer, the fountain turned into a gateway to the fairy kingdom where the imprisoned queen awaited her savior. Ruby stepped through the archway and saw the fairy queen, now free thanks to her courage and cleverness. The queen thanked Ruby with a beautiful gem glowing with magic and wisdom. "You have shown that true courage lies not just in facing fears, but in embracing truth and kindness," said the queen. With joy in her heart, Ruby returned home, her treasure a timeless reminder of the adventures and lessons learned. She knew she would always have the map, and with it, countless adventures waiting just around the corner. Little Thomas loved to explore the forest. One day, he discovered a marvelous hourglass in a sparkling tree hollow. This hourglass looked ordinary, but when he gently touched it, time suddenly stopped. All the birds chirping and the rustling of leaves ceased, and everything around him fell silent. Thomas felt a thrill in his heart, as if he had found some kind of magic. Eager to test the power of the hourglass, Thomas first paused time to look for his neighbor's lost puppy, Pippi. He carefully placed the hourglass beside Pippi and continued searching around. The motionless Pippi seemed to hear his owner's call and began to stir. Thomas smiled and flipped the hourglass, restoring the flow of time, and Pippi happily ran back home. Next, Thomas took the hourglass to his grandmother. She was always anxious about losing her glasses. Thomas stopped time and took the opportunity to search for the glasses. He found them hidden under the sofa cushions and gently placed them back on the table before resuming time. His grandmother joyfully exclaimed, "Oh, my glasses are right here." She had no idea about Thomas's secret help. At school, Thomas's friend Ellie was struggling with a math puzzle. Thomas paused time, carefully solved the problem, and then provided a hint. When Ellie saw the hint, a light bulb went off in her head, and she successfully solved the puzzle, revealing a relieved smile. However, Thomas gradually realized that magic wasn't suitable for every problem. One time, when he paused time to finish his homework, he lost his wisdom and ability to think independently because he relied too much on magic. He discovered that he still needed to work hard and rely on his own strength to truly grow. Thomas picked up his books again and worked hard to solve problems with his wisdom. He knew that although the hourglass was magical, he understood in his heart that wisdom was the greatest power. The magical hourglass lay quietly on his bookshelf, reminding him of what was truly important. Every night, he would say to the hourglass, "Thank you for once giving me courage and inspiration, teaching me how to face the challenges in life." From then on, Thomas became a braver and wiser little boy. He no longer relied on magic but used diligence and the power of wisdom to become a solver of every difficulty. Thomas brought peace and happiness to those around him. On a sunny morning, a little girl named Emma in a small village was ready to start a new day. Emma loved her pink backpack not only because it could hold all her books and toys, but also because she had recently discovered its special feature. It was a flying backpack that could talk. The day's classes went smoothly, but the afternoon weather forecast indicated that a typhoon was approaching. After school, the astonishing storm arrived as predicted, and the worried villagers were concerned about the supply of goods in the coming days. A great idea surged in Emma's mind. She could use her flying backpack to help the villagers transport food and other essentials. With this thought, Emma immediately discussed the plan with her backpack, Pippi, and set to work. Thus, Emma hopped onto her flying backpack, and Pippi summoned its magic. Together, they took off into the storm, heading towards the neighboring village, tasked with bringing supplies back to their village. Along the way, they encountered their first challenge, a wooden bridge washed away by the heavy rain. But Emma quickly utilized her surroundings to see what could help her cross the bridge. Inspiration struck her from the hanging vines, and she instructed Pippi to carefully and slowly fly over. Pippi adjusted its flying height, skillfully avoiding the still swaying bridge, and successfully reached the other side. Next, they flew into a muddy swamp, where there was hardly any safe place to land. Emma grabbed Pippi's shoulder straps, encouraging them to hover steadily over the swamp. She recalled her geography class, knowing that as long as they found a prominent tree root in the swamp, they could safely pass through. Pippi carefully ascended, steadily locating those solid roots, and they navigated out of the muck. Soon, they safely delivered the supplies, and on their return journey, they had become the heroes praised by everyone in the village. Back home, Emma thanked Pippi for teaching her that when things seem insurmountable, with imagination and a well-thought-out plan, anything is possible. As the typhoon gradually receded into the night, laughter and peace filled the village. That night, Emma and her backpack Pippi drifted into sweet dreams together, marking a beautiful ending to a day filled with imagination and miracles. Nico was a little boy full of imaginative ideas, living in a sunny little town. One day, he stumbled upon a magical pen in a small shop in town. This pen could transform into any tool he desired, filling Nico's life with adventure and possibilities. One day, the true value of the magic pen was revealed. It was an ordinary school day, and while Nico was attentively listening to the teacher in class, he suddenly heard the sound of an alarm. Instantly, the commotion and panic in the school increased as everyone learned that part of the school was on fire. In the chaos, Nico did not panic. He took out the magic pen and quietly thought about what he could do. First, he transformed the pen into a long hose, connecting it to a fire hydrant. This allowed water to flow into the fire scene and helped the firefighters extinguish the flames. Next, he turned the pen into a ladder. He placed the ladder by the window to help older students safely evacuate from the upper floors. However, the fire was growing larger, and the smoke was becoming thicker. Nico knew he needed to do more. He picked up the pen and created a compass, leading his classmates through the smoke-filled corridors to the safe assembly point outside. He calmly analyzed every path around him, ensuring everyone could evacuate smoothly. When he and his classmates safely reached the assembly point, the firefighters were amazed. Clearly, this boy not only possessed a magical pen but also a calm mind and extraordinary courage. From that day on, Nico understood the essence of true heroism. True heroes are not just those with magic, but those with composure and wit. With the help of his magic pen, he not only saved his classmates but learned to remain calm in a crisis. His story quickly spread throughout the town, becoming a delightful tale shared over meals. Nico's magic pen became his silent companion, waiting for the next adventure. Every night, as darkness fell, Nico would flip through the exciting stories of himself and the magic pen by his bedside, falling asleep with a satisfied smile. He knew that every day in the future was a beginning filled with possibilities, and he would greet it with wisdom. Mia is a little girl who loves exploring and adventure, her imagination as splendid as a fairy tale world. One tranquil night, she lies in bed and gradually drifts into slumber. Her dreams take her to a mysterious realm, shrouded in thick black mist. Although the mist evokes fear, Mia senses that this land needs her help. In her dream, Mia discovers a gigantic puzzle floating in the air, each piece radiating a faint glow. This puzzle is the key to saving the kingdom. She carefully memorizes the shape, color, and pattern of each piece, tightly focusing on solving the riddle. When she wakes up the next day, Mia is astonished to find the puzzle pieces from her dream appearing in her room. She knows this is not just a dream, she has been entrusted with a special mission. Mia decides to use the puzzle-solving skills she learned in her dream to rearrange these real-life pieces. Every time Mia concentrates on placing a puzzle piece in the correct position, the black mist in the air diminishes a little. She realizes that as long as she remains careful and patient, and believes in the guidance from her dream, the puzzle can gradually form a beautiful picture. As the black mist dissipates, the creatures in the kingdom slowly regain their vitality. They smile and nod at Mia, as if expressing their gratitude. With the last puzzle piece in place, the entire kingdom is transformed. Sunlight pierces through the clouds, the black mist is gone, revealing a lush green forest and sparkling lakes. Mia feels warmth in her heart, knowing she has completed an important mission. From then on, whenever Mia enters Dreamland again, she meets her friends from that kingdom. In both dreams and reality, the focus and care she learned become a part of her life. She believes that her focus and care can change the entire world. Mia's heart is filled with joy and hope, and every night, she can peacefully fall asleep, ready for new adventures. Once upon a time, in a small village, there lived a little boy named Oscar. Like the other children in the village, he led an ordinary life, but one day, something extraordinary happened. The morning sun gently shone on Oscar, and he was surprised to find that his shadow on the ground was expanding, transforming into a huge and beautiful flower. Oscar blinked and looked again. The shadow began to change, first into a hopping little rabbit, then into a soaring eagle. Oscar's shadow could take on various shapes, guided by his imagination, filling him with wonder and joy. Soon, the villagers heard about this and came to Oscar for help. A small bridge in the village had collapsed due to years of neglect, leaving the villagers unable to cross the river. Oscar thought of his shadow and used its shape-shifting ability to design a workable bridge, allowing the villagers to safely cross the river once more. On another occasion, the village needed to transport a pile of timber from the mountains. Oscar once again called upon his shadow, transforming it into a strong giant. The giant effortlessly carried the heavy logs, making everyone's work much smoother. However, not all problems could be solved with strength alone. One day, a fierce monster arrived in the village. Oscar knew that relying solely on the giant form of his shadow would not be enough to fend off this enemy. So, he began to think. In a flash of inspiration, he used the angles of the shadow's reflection to devise a clever trap. He transformed the shadow into a maze, and the play of light confused the monster. The creature crawled through the maze, eventually exhausting itself and collapsing quietly, saving the villagers. Through this journey, Oscar learned that while strength is important when facing difficulties, maintaining creativity and good strategy is even more crucial. His shadow's shape-shifting ability became the village's most treasured gift, and Oscar, through his wisdom, became a respected hero in the village. Every night, as darkness fell, the villagers quietly fell asleep under the starry sky, filled with gratitude for Oscar and dreaming beautiful dreams. Once upon a time, in a small town called Harmonyville, there lived a curious girl named Linda. Linda had a secret treasure that she cherished above all, her magical music box. This wasn't just any ordinary music box. Every time Linda wound it up, a mysterious sound puzzle filled the room. One sunny afternoon, Linda discovered something amazing about the music box. As she turned the key, the sound puzzle wasn't just a sweet melody, it was a gateway to a magical city. With a twinkle of curiosity in her eyes, Linda found herself stepping into this enchanting world. The city shimmered with music everywhere. Flowers sang gentle tunes, and birds chirped melodies that painted the sky in vibrant colors. Signs hung in the air saying, "Unlock the music gates." Linda knew she was about to embark on a fascinating adventure. Linda's quest was to unlock the musical gates scattered across the city. Each gate held a tune, and behind them, a secret waited. However, the path wouldn't be easy. To progress, Linda had to solve each sound puzzle through listening and reasoning. At the first gate, she heard a cheerful flute playing softly. Linda listened attentively and realized the tune followed the pattern of a familiar nursery rhyme. With a smile, she hummed along, and suddenly, the gate swung open. Through the gate, Linda found a quaint street where the townspeople greeted her warmly. But Linda noticed something different. They communicated through music notes hovering above their heads. At first, it seemed puzzling, but Linda quickly understood that each note represented their emotions and feelings. At the next gate, the puzzle was a complex symphony with its melody dancing like the wind. Linda closed her eyes, tuned her ears, and picked the individual notes that stood out. Piece by piece, she solved the melody, and the gate opened. As Linda journeyed through the city, she learned that solving the music puzzles required more than just her ears. It required understanding the sounds and feelings of others. Everyone in the city had unique melodies woven with their emotions, and Linda found joy in discovering them. She realized that listening to others could help solve mysteries, just like in her adventure. Finally, Linda reached the last grand gate, towering above the city. The music was a symphony of laughter, tears, and joy. This time, Linda sang from her heart, combining all the melodies and emotions she'd encountered. The gate opened with a magical light, revealing a breathtaking view of the city's heart. Linda's adventure in the magical city taught her the importance of understanding and empathy. With music and emotions entwined, Linda returned to Harmonyville, carrying the magical city's lessons in her heart forever. And every time she wound up her music box, Linda remembered that the power of listening and understanding could unlock not only gates, but hearts. In a distant little village, there lived a mischievous and curious little boy named Billy. Billy had a magical compass that was unlike any other, for it always pointed towards danger. Billy, however, was not afraid. Instead, he was filled with curiosity about this compass. He embarked on an adventurous journey to explore the direction indicated by the compass. This magical compass not only pointed to danger but also held the key to solutions, as long as one knew how to turn crises into opportunities. One day, Billy's compass pointed towards a roaring volcano. The hot, flowing lava down the slope looked quite dangerous. The needle of the compass steadfastly pointed to the volcano's summit. Billy observed closely and discovered a safe little path near the top of the volcano. It turned out that at the summit of the volcano, there was a special plant that could create a magical potion to heal all the ailments in the village. Although the journey was perilous, Billy managed to reach the top of the volcano and brought back the healing potion. The villagers were grateful to him, but Billy knew it was the compass's reverse thinking that led him to the solution. On another day, the compass pointed towards a mysterious maze. Billy entered the maze and began to explore. The walls of the maze were chaotic like the sound of bells, with every intersection filled with twists and dead ends. But Billy was clever. He discovered that the compass's guidance was precisely the method to think about the path from the opposite direction. In the center of the maze, there was a huge treasure chest filled with treasures and strange toys. Billy carefully collected a few toys and left the treasures behind to help future adventurers. Upon returning to the village, he was praised, and he knew that it was changing his perspective that unlocked the maze's wrong direction. Thus, Billy understood, behind seemingly dangerous directions, there is always a path to success, as long as you are willing to look at it from a different angle. Each adventure made Billy braver and wiser, while all the difficulties seemed trivial. Billy's heart was filled with gratitude for the compass. He knew it had given him the courage to seek the path to success. On a warm summer afternoon, Sophie strolled along the beach, enjoying the sea breeze and the warmth of the sand. Something shiny caught her eye. It was an ancient glass bottle with strange patterns. Curiously, Sophie uncorked the bottle, and a flash of light transformed into a tiny fairy. The fairy smiled at Sophie and said, "Hi, I am the bottle fairy. I can answer any question, but only with yes or no." Filled with excitement, Sophie recalled stories of the sealed underwater city, a beautiful place sealed by an evil spell. She pondered how to use the fairy's abilities to break the seal. Sophie asked the fairy, "Are there any special places near the underwater city?" The fairy replied, "Yes." Sophie then asked, "Can those places help open the city's seal?" The fairy answered, "No." Sophie asked, "Does the seal require specific conditions to be broken?" The fairy replied, "Yes." Sophie realized she needed to learn more about these conditions. Over the next few days, Sophie collected village legends, filtering useful information and asking the fairy different questions. She learned the importance of asking clever questions. Eventually, Sophie discovered how to break the seal. She thanked the fairy and, on a starry night, completed her preparations and lifted the seal of the underwater city. Standing on the beach, Sophie saw the magnificent city rising from the sea. She felt a sense of accomplishment and happiness, having learned to face difficulties and ask questions. Sophie's successful experience not only saved the underwater city but also brought her new perspectives. Under the night sky, she lay on the beach, smiling and dreaming. Once upon a time, on a bright sunny morning in the cheerful town of Willow Creek, four adventurous friends decided to embark on an exciting quest. Inigo the inventor, Sophie the strategist, Milo the math whiz, and Bella the botanist were known for their curiosity and love of discovery. Their journey was prompted by the tale of a legendary treasure buried on the mysterious financial island. This treasure, said to hold the secret to eternal financial security, had intrigued the minds of Willow Creek's residents for generations. The treasure promised riches beyond measure and a life of comfort and abundance. The friends gathered outside Inigo's cozy little workshop, the place where many of their previous escapades had been planned. Armed with a map, a trusty compass, and their friendship, they set off on their grand adventure. As they sailed towards Financial Island on a small, yet sturdy boat named the Prosperity, they noticed how the winds playfully tugged at the sails. Upon reaching the island's shore, they were greeted by the rustle of palm leaves and the distant cry of exotic birds. The island seemed magical, without doubt holding secrets waiting to be uncovered. Their first challenge was to solve a puzzle among three ancient stone pillars, each marked with cryptic symbols. Inigo, being the inventor, quickly analyzed the symbols' mechanical nature. "Aha! These represent saving wisely," he exclaimed. "These pillars are asking us how the smallest of savings can grow into large amounts over time." Milo, the math whiz, excitedly calculated, "If we save a bit each month and let it accumulate, it will grow much larger thanks to adding a small interest. Compound interest. That's the key." Sophie's strategic mind mapped out their next steps. "Let's go to the jungle on the east side," she suggested. "I bet there's another clue there." The jungle trail was lush and full of life, challenging them with tangled vines and hidden marshes. As they navigated the labyrinth of the forest, Bella the botanist came across a beautiful plant. The plant indicated direction through the patterns on its leaves. "Follow this plant," she explained, "it leads us to understanding the importance of smart spending. Nature only uses what it needs, and so should we." Soon, the friends stumbled upon a large, sparkling waterfall. There, a wise old turtle, named Tiki, awaited them. "I'm the guardian of the investing falls," he said with a slow, deliberate voice. "Here lies the secret of investing. A single pebble can change the flow of tomorrow's river." Milo nodded. We need to place our resources wisely, into stocks and bonds, things that grow with time and help us reach new heights. As the journey continued, the friends reached the peak of Financial Island, where a dazzling rainbow pointed the way to the treasure's final resting place. But this time, the challenge was different. It wasn't a puzzle or a riddle but a realization. Sophie, looking at her friends, smiled. We've solved puzzles about saving, smart spending, and wise investments, she said. But the true treasure isn't gold or jewels. It's the knowledge and experience we've each gained. The friends gathered round, feeling a sense of completion and happiness. They understood that financial security was not a treasure chest filled with coins, but a treasure trove of wisdom about building a secure future. With newfound knowledge and joy in their hearts, they sailed back to Willow Creek. They knew they could share their adventure and insights with those ready to listen. And so the tale of the Financial Island quest spread throughout the town, inspiring others to embark on their own journeys of discovery and financial wisdom. The real treasure, they learned, was in growing a life of prosperity and understanding, step by step, with friends by their side. Once upon a time, in a sparkling pond nestled between whispering willows and blooming wildflowers, lived a cheerful little frog named Frankie. Frankie was not your ordinary frog. He was gentle, kind, and full of dreams. But there was one dream that Frankie held closest to his heart, hosting a grand party for all his friends from around the pond. Frankie loved the idea of bringing everyone together, but there was just one problem. Frankie was very shy. Every time he thought about talking to others, his heart began to race, and his feet felt as if they were stuck in the mud. With each new day, Frankie's dream grew bigger and brighter. One morning, as the golden sun peeked over the horizon, its rays glistening on the calm waters, Frankie decided that his shyness would not hold him back any longer. He hopped to the shore and said to himself, "Today is the day I will invite everyone." First, he needed invitations. Frankie carefully crafted each one out of the largest lily pads he could find, decorating them with dew droplets that shimmered like tiny diamonds. With invitations in hand, Frankie began his journey around the pond. He leaped gracefully from lily pad to lily pad, gently nudging the rippling water and creating soft melodies as he went. His first stop was the bustling beaver family. "Oh, how they'll love it," Frankie thought. He hopped over to Beaver Lodge and knocked softly. The beavers listened eagerly, their tails rattling with excitement as they RSVP'd yes to the party. Next, Frankie visited Serena Swan. Upon hearing the invitation, Serena twirled in delight, her feathers glistening as she cooed, "I will be there with bells on." Frankie felt his courage grow with each smile and enthusiastic reply. By the time he'd invited the turtles, dragonflies, and the wise old owl, Frankie was feeling truly fearless. Every guest was excited, and every corner of the pond buzzed with anticipation. Frankie started planning surprises. He gathered evening fireflies to light up the pond, creating a magical setting with twinkling fairy lights. He lined the pond's edge with the fresh flowers he collected from the meadow. Finally, the party day arrived. Frankie had transformed the pond into a wonderland full of laughter and joy. The beavers played games, the dragonflies danced in the moonlight, and Serena Swan sang a sweet lullaby that echoed across the water. And underneath the starlit sky, the wise old owl told enchanting tales that fascinated everyone. As the party wove through moments of delight and magic, Frankie realized that the biggest magic of all was the magic that comes from being brave and kind. At the heart of the pond stood Frankie, no longer shy. His heart swelled with happiness as he watched his friends all together, celebrating friendship and love. The party ended with a magnificent chorus croaked by Frankie himself, "Being brave and kind can make a dream come true." And with that, as the guests slowly drifted homeward against the backdrop of the twinkling sky, Frankie knew his pond would always be filled with happiness, just like his heart. The end.
If you like our stories, please like, subscribe, and turn on the little bell so you won't miss exciting stories every day. You are also welcome to share it with family and friends to listen to the story together. Love you.